Hello there, and welcome to the Time Machine with Trish and Mike. I'm Mike.
And I'm Trish.
And we're glad you're with us once again on another fantastically fabulous adventure through time where we will, no doubt, learn stuff.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah, lots of stuff. Yeah, because that's like the whole mission statement. Yeah, exactly.
So, there'll be trivia, there'll be tidbits.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You'll learn things about currency. You'll learn things about a whole bunch of other stuff that you're just going to have to keep listening to find out.
That's right. Mysterious stuff.
Because if actually, I told you about it now...
That was last week's episode, was mysterious stuff.
Yeah, but it's still a mystery because people will listen to us and they will continue learning and continue listening because they know that when we get to the end of the episode, if they don't make it to the end... we wish bad things upon them, and they want good things because we're all about positivity here. So you make it to the end of the episode and it reverses the curse and nothing bad happens to you.
Yeah, you actually receive the opposite of what you state at the end of the episode. So mysterious.
It's a scientific fact. It's in the 103rd volume of the, Funkin' Wagnall's New England Journal of Medicine Encyclopedia Britannica.com.
Sounds super legit. I believe you, sir.
You've got to make sure you pay $4.95 a month for that, for the pro edition with no ads.
Ooh.
Although would that be like $8.95 Canadian?
Yeah, so sad.
Yeah, I don't know.
There'd be a couple of Toonies.
Speaking of sad and Canadians and Toonies, that takes us to our top story for this week. Trish, take it away from Canadian land. What you got for us? I believe there's a iconic Toonie anniversary, and we're not talking about Looney Tunes, although Canadians are loony. I love Canada. I'm on a roll today.
You're like having way too much fun with our currency. That's right. We do have loonies and we have Toonies. So this is actually the anniversary. Well, tomorrow, February 19th, 1996, is the anniversary of when Canada removed the $2 bill from circulation and introduced our $2 coin that is lovingly called a Toonie. It features an image of an adult polar bear in early summer on an ice floe on one side, with our amazing monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, on the other side. It was designed by wildlife and landscape artist Brent Townsend, and it replaced our kind of ugly brown bill that we had that had robins on it.
Well, of course, but if it had Batman on it, people would still be using a $2 bill.
Absolutely. Who's going to get rid of Batman?
Yeah, that's where y'all messed up.
Yeah.
You just put Batman on it, not Robin.
It's true. And when the Toonie did come out, though, I mean, people were going like holy Batman about it because it was a bimetallic coin that had a locking mechanism in it. And so the center part is gold or gold-ish color. It's not actually real gold, although we do have real gold coins that you can have as collector's items. But it had like a golden center with a silvery outside locking mechanism that was patented by the Royal Canadian Mint. And it was really introduced just because, of course, coins have a longer life than bills. And apparently it has the lifespan approximately 20 times longer than that of paper currency.
That makes sense why you would switch to that. Now, how popular is the Toonie in Canada? Like, is it pretty common that people use these?
Oh, yeah. We use them like all the time. Yeah. When it first came out, though, people were all trying to get their hands on it, not to actually use as currency, but to try and pop the center out. So there was all kinds of tricks making its way around communities on how you could pop the center out, which is actually defacing money, which is actually illegal. But
it sounds more fun than getting to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop.
Well, and no one knows that mystery either.
Mr. Owl does.
Mr. Owl cheats. We had that commercial here.
Yeah, he is cheater. He is a cheater.
We actually have more than 675 million $2 coins in circulation since that introduction in 96. We actually have numerous versions of the Toonie. So there isn't just the one that was released in 96 that has the polar bear and Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, but there's different commemorative ones. We had one for Vimy Ridge when we were celebrating that historic event.
Real quick, what,
Oh.
like a Cliff Notes version, what is that? In case our American friends do not know.
So Vimy Ridge was a hill in Normandy during World War I that all the Allies attempted to take from the Germans, and the only battalion that was able to do it was the Canadians. So it's a lot of historians actually you talk about Vimy Ridge as really the defining moment because it was the first time the Canadians were under their own military control. It wasn't a British officer that was in charge of them. And it really kind of forged our newly minted country as a unified country.
Is it the greatest Canadian achievement in war?
Probably one that we're most proud of. Yeah. But we're also really, really proud of our involvement with D-Day as well.
Oh, yeah. You guys were contributing to that. I don't want to get in like a whole war discussion, but that seems like that's a prideful thing for Canada. Like this was our, because to put it on your currency, it has to have some historical value to the country.
Yeah, it really galvanized, brought the country together.
Good. Nice.
Yeah, so it is something that we're definitely proud of. And there's other coins that are in circulation as well. Still Toonies, of course. But another one depicts actually our Northern Lights, which of course are very famous in Canada. And what makes that Toonie really cool is it's the first glow-in-the-dark coin in the world. So it actually will glow in the dark. In the daylight, the northern lights seen as depicted on the coin is brilliantly in color in blue and green. But once you flick those lights off, it glows in the dark.
I am so tongue-tied because I just wish I had one of these. You guys have glow-in-the-dark currency. Like, we have some interesting currency here that I'll get into in a second. But we don't have glow-in-the-dark money.
I'll have to send you one. They're people were kind of hoarding them a little bit. It was released in 2017 for our 150th anniversary, and they made 3 million of those ones. So they're kind of hard to come by, but I will do my best to find one.
Okay, well, if you do, I will
let you know.
That would be great. Or at least, I guess I could look one up online, but it'd be cool to...
Yeah, I'll pop one onto the Instagram page as well.
Was there a purpose to the glow-in-the-dark coin? Or does it serve a safety purpose, like to prove it's an authentic coin? Or was it just somebody was just drunk on maple syrup and said, hey, let's do this? Okay.
And the Toonie, the glow-in-the-dark Toonie was actually, it's not the first glow-in-the-dark coin, but Canada is the country that made the first glow-in-the-dark coin. In 2012, we actually had a quarter that had a glowing dinosaur skeleton on it. It was not put into general circulation, however, which is why they state the Toonie is technically the first glow-in-the-dark coin in the world because that was the one that actually went into circulation.
I know we're not on a video version of this podcast yet, but Trish, you can attest to our listeners that my jaw has dropped ever since you said you had a dinosaur on the back of your coins. I need one of these.
I would try and find, so it's a quarter that shows I don't even know how to pronounce this, a Pachyrhinosaurus, this is when you're being a dyslexic person is bad. Lacoustei dinosaur skeleton. I don't know. I'm not. I wanted
totally
to be.
Nailed that. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was little, and that did not pan out. But I tried my best.
Get it? Panning because you're panning for fossils
and gold currency.
Yeah,
money.
Currency. It all comes back to money. We have we don't have a Toonie, but we have a $2 bill here in America.
See, and I have never seen one of your $2. Like I remember the $2 bill in Canada growing up before they took it out of circulation, obviously in '96. But I did not realize you guys had one too.
Yep, we still do. They still, in fact, make them. They are just not very popular. They're more of a collector's item at this point, but they are still accepted as legal tender. So you could totally go to a store and pay with one. When I used to work at Target, I want to say I maybe got one once or twice. They're not really a commonly used bill, but they are still a thing. We do have actually some other bills that are no longer in circulation. Of course, we have like, $1 and $5 and tens and 20s and 50s and hundreds. We have in our history, we've had $500 bills. We've had $1,000 bills. We had a $5,000 bill. We had a $10,000 bill. And we even at one point had a $100,000 bill. But
That's
that was
insane.
that one was never out in public for circulation. It was mostly used internally between the different banks back during the Great Depression, during the reserve banks and stuff. And
Can you imagine though getting a pitcher holding one of those?
that would be pretty cool. It's actually they're not legal for someone to have as a collectible, although I have no idea who would be able to enforce how you would find out someone has one. But they do have them on display at like the Smithsonian and some other museums.
That would be really cool to see. Now, with your $1 bill, do you guys actually have a $1 coin?
We do. We do have a
Oh,
$1 coin that we've had a few varieties of them over the years. The currently produced one actually has Sacagawea on it. It's a golden
okay.
coin. Sacagawea was a Native American that helped Lewis and Clark on their expedition. So we've actually had dollar coins off and on from like the late 1700s through like the kind of the Great Depression. They stopped making them, and then they brought them back in the 70s, and they've gone through a few variations. There was some that were made with President Eisenhower. There was a Susan B. Anthony dollar coin that came out in the 80s that was it had a unique shape to it. Like, it wasn't fully circular. The sides were kind of squared off.
Oh, cool.
So it was kind of, there was a texture to it. And then they began making the Sacagawea.
Now, are those more collectibles than actually used in circulation?
Yeah, they're more collectibles. People would confuse them a lot with quarters because they were very similar. In fact, the Sacagawea is the size of a quarter.
So
So
it's
like
smaller.
vending machines and stuff can accept it. It's a golden color, so
Okay.
it's more distinguishable from a quarter, so you wouldn't confuse the two.
Hmm.
And you said you had 600 and something million Toonies in circulation. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Something around that. Yep. So we have about 1.2 billion $2 bills in
Oh, no.
circulation. Now, a vast majority, well, I almost say a vast majority, because I don't know how many's in a reserve bank somewhere, but a decent amount of them, I'm sure, are just sitting in people's homes because they just
Well,
collect them.
even I have a couple American dollar bills just chilling.
But do you have a $2 bill?
Oh, did you say that was how many $2 bills are in circulation?
That's how many $2 bills we have
Oh,
in circulation.
wow.
We have way more than $1 bills, I'm sure. Thomas Jefferson, by the way, is on our $2 bill.
Oh, I just don't know how you guys can tell your bills apart.
Well, they put the numbers on them. That usually helps.
Yes, but like when you're like, I remember when I would, because I've only been to America a few times,
True.
and like rifling through my wallet I'm like, okay, I have to find, like, you didn't want to use too big of a bill to pay for something small, but it was just like, like you can't tell anything apart.
That's right.
Whereas in Canada, it's so
are
easy.
green. You guys have each denomination is a different color.
Yeah, $5 bills blue, $10 bills or is like a purple color, 20s green.
We have introduced some colors. They redesigned our currency a few years back. Or I say a few years, it's probably more like 10 years at this point. And there is some color variations in the bills, but as a general rule, yes, they are all still green. There's hints of colors and some more for security purposes and things like that.
Yeah, like they redesigned ours too to have more of it's almost like a polymer feel, like a plasticky feel.
Yeah,
like you could if it could go
feel
through the washing machine and be fine.
Yep, so can ours.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then ours has a little window. There's actually a see-through component.
I believe one of our bills has some type of a see-through. There's like a thread that runs through it that you can see that has the denomination written out in it.
Oh, cool.
I can't think of what bill that is off the top of my head right now. So here's a really odd fact that this is why you listen to the show, because you're going to learn these odd facts. So out of all of our currency bills, all of the people on the bills, most of them are presidents, but we do have a few, like Benjamin Franklin wasn't a president, but he's on our $100 bill. All of them face to the right, except for one.
Except for one's facing the left?
Correct. And that's the $10 bill with Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, interesting.
Everyone else faces the right.
But isn't that because, like, he was the founding father of, like, the banking system?
Yeah, he was the first Secretary of the Treasury.
Secretary of Treasury. Yeah, not a founding father, but...
Right. But he was around back in the day.
I know that that's a specific term, though, for a specific group of people, right?
I'm also, now that we're talking about Hamilton, I'm kind of bummed because they just announced this week that we were supposed to get Hamilton as part of the 2021-2022 Broadway season here. Mm-hmm. And they just said that we're not getting it now. So,
but is the season still going on?
The season is still going to, well, it would start in the fall. But yeah, the season will still go on, but we're not getting Hamilton this time.
Stinky.
Yeah, I'm guessing because wherever it was supposed to have been on tour this past season, they're probably making those dates up, so we're getting bumped back a year. They haven't confirmed that, but I'm assuming that's what...
That would make logical sense.
Yeah.
But then you have something really fun to look forward to. Silver lining.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It'll eventually come around here. Now, the real question is, will I be able to get tickets?
But, yes, because that's going to be a popular show.
Yeah, it was here a couple of years ago. Played for... I think about a month, and it all sold out pretty quickly.
But if it's not the OG
I was
cast,
not successful.
I'll just stay home and watch it on Disney.
Yeah, well, but back when it was here the first time, that wasn't an option. You had to go to Broadway to see it, or catch it on tour somewhere. But,
right.
Yeah.
Huh, that's so interesting. I love that trivia fact.
On February 21st, 1878, the first telephone directory was published in New Haven, Connecticut. There were 50 individuals, businesses, and other offices that had telephones. So the first telephone directory had 50 entries on it.
Earlier when we were planning, and you're like, yeah, I know exactly the amount of numbers. 50 was not the number that was in my head. And we all know we shouldn't ask Trish number questions.
This is very true.
But 50's real low. I would have been so far over that number if you had asked me.
Okay, well, let me ask you this one now. Let's see.
Oh, no, I put myself on the spot.
You've put yourself on the spot. See, I set you up. I'm sneaky. Okay, so the first British telephone directory was published a couple of years later. Oh, these Americans that left us, they came up with this cool idea. We're going to use it. The first telephone directory, it was in London, of course.
Okay. Yeah.
How many people, names, addresses, businesses, that sort of thing, were in that directory?
That's going to be brutal.
1880.
1880.
No, that was the year.
So that's the year that the directory comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm trying to remember from our previous podcast when the telephone was invented, but that date is escaping me. And we're in a big city. I'm going to say, it's going to be so wrong. I'm going to say 862.
Ooh. Okay, you got 2 digits right.
Ooh,
but
that's exciting.
In the wrong spot.
Dang it. Okay.
But out of 10 digits, you got 2 of them right. So that's worth a Toonie.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
I'll send you I want that Toonie, and you give me a $2 bill, and we'll call it even.
Deal. We will make that happen. So 248.
Dang. Oh no.
You said 862, so you did get 2 digits. They were just not in the right spot.
I wonder how many episodes it'll take me to get a math question right.
Well, I don't like the odds, but
We're going to be
eventually,
making podcasts for a long time.
I promise this to all our listeners who are our OGs who have been with us from the beginning. We will continue this podcast until Trish gets a math question right.
Oh, no.
We will hopefully, because we might get lucky here in 5 minutes and she might get it right. So this could, but we will continue making episodes after
it
the
was
fact.
nice knowing you until I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, one day. Oh.
So phone books really aren't a thing so much anymore because obviously the internet in like the 90s, a lot of these phone book companies got websites and they put their listings online, and now of course you just Google things if you're trying to find numbers for businesses. So the biggest thing phone books really are known for now is feats of strength. So people rip phone books.
I have seen that on YouTube.
Do you know what the Guinness World Record for ripping the most phone books within 3 minutes is?
Another math question. I'm going to say 12.
Okay, again, you got some digits right in the wrong sequence.
Okay.
So Tina Shelton in 2007 set the record for a female. She ripped 21 phone books in 3 minutes. Her husband, Edward, holds the male record.
What do these people do? They're just a couple that sits around ripping telephone books together? That's their good time?
Hey, I'm surprised somebody didn't do a TikTok about it during quarantine.
That is true. There probably is one floating around. Who knows?
Probably, if anybody could find a phone book in 2021. So she ripped 21. How many did her husband rip?
I almost feel like I should get credit as a dyslexic person that I said 12 and it was 21. Just putting it out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I will use whatever advantage I can get in this game. So how many did he rip?
She ripped 21, and spoiler alert, he rips more than her. You probably would figure that.
In 3 minutes, though.
Yes.
Does he get into the 30s? I don't know.
Yes.
That's a lot of phone books. Oh, does he? Okay.
Yes.
I was going to originally say 34, and then I was like, I'm going to be way off.
I'm going to keep dropping hits until you get kind of closer to the number.
It's not like 34?
No,
that's
it's
a
way
lot
more
of phone
than that.
books. Way more?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. What do these people do?
Rip phone books.
How do they get such hand strength? Is it hand strength? Like your hands gripping, or is it like just bicep strength?
Well, there's really a technique to ripping phone books. Once you learn the technique, you still have to have some strength to start it, but there is a technique to it.
So like way more? Like way more?
Yes.
Now I'll just be like an idiot if I go real high. Okay, I'm going to say 56.
Folks, we have enjoyed bringing you this podcast.
Did I get it right? Oh my goodness. That's awesome. I did it, guys. I'm proud of me.
As a side note, I will go back and, because I said watch her get it sometime here within the next 5 minutes, I'm legit going to go back and time that to see how long from the time I said that to the time you guessed that, to see if that was.
So funny. That's hilarious. I can't believe I got that.
Hey everybody, Mike here, just jumping in to let you know that it was 2 minutes and 51 seconds. And now, back to our show. Or did you mean to say 65?
No, I'm not going to use the disability this time. I only use it when it's to my advantage.
I see. I see. Oh, jeez.
That's funny. Yeah, I remember when they used to like dump phone books on your front step.
Yeah, I haven't seen one. I haven't had one delivered in several years at least.
Oh, several years. We actually, the last one that got dumped on our doorstep, we ended up using for like paper mache for some cosplay.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Although I think I know why you had the number 12 in your head for Tina's record. 12 for a dozen donuts.
That is true. That brings us to our next story, which is all about actually a very famous restaurant here in Canada, which is, of course, the legendary Tim Hortons. But what I'm assuming a lot of people, maybe primarily Americans, don't know is that Tim Horton actually was a very famous hockey player before becoming well known for his donuts. And this is actually a sad anniversary because it is, of course, the anniversary of his passing, February 21st, 1974. Horton is actually going to grow up in Cochrane, Ontario, and he's going to go on to become one of the best defensemen for the National Hockey League's Original Six. And he spent the majority of his career with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Go Leafs, which is my team only purely because my dad was the only Maple Leaf fan in the house, and my brothers and my mom cheer for Montreal. And I felt bad for my dad and felt he needed a hockey buddy.
And now you cheer on the Oilers.
Now I cheer on the Oilers, yeah.
Unless they're playing the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I'm still Maple Leafs first.
Like if it comes down to Maple Leafs versus Oilers, it's Leafs for you.
Yes, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I have an Oilers jersey and not a Leafs jersey. So, I mean, if anyone's looking for a birthday gift or anything, just throwing it out there.
Now, if we're getting you a hockey jersey, we're getting you an Avalanche jersey.
I wouldn't say no to an Avalanche jersey.
It's a good jersey. I'm biased.
You're biased, though. As a member of the Leafs, Horton was part of 4 Stanley Cup winning teams. In 1972, he's actually playing for the Buffalo Sabres. Following a game in Toronto, he decides to drive home to Buffalo rather than take the team bus. And sadly, in the early hours of February 21st, he loses control of his sports car and he's killed on the Queen Elizabeth Way Highway near St. Catharines, Ontario. He had been driving exceptionally fast. The police estimate that it was over 160 kilometers an hour or 100 miles per hour. And he was actually under the influence of alcohol. So speed, alcohol, late at night, all 3 are terrible factors. And it ended up costing him his life, unfortunately. Now, how did the whole coffee franchise happen? Well, hockey players, in the early days were not paid what we have come to expect hockey players to be paid, right?
Right. And out of the big 4 sports in America, hockey players make by far the least, like on
Right.
average, compared to a football player or a basketball player.
Yeah. So to offset that paycheck, because he had a large family, he had a wife and 4 daughters, he would take jobs in the off season. And, one of the jobs was working at Brewers Retail, which is now the beer store, which is one of the liquor stores in Ontario. He worked at a gravel company, but he had an entrepreneurial spirit. And with his brother, he opened up another restaurant called the Big 7 in North Bay, Ontario. But it wasn't until 64 when he establishes a little coffee and donut shop, then known as Tim Horton, that would eventually become the well-established Canadian franchise that we all know and love. And he opens the first coffee and donut shop on Ottawa Street in Hamilton, Ontario, selling coffee for a quarter. And it featured his own personal creations, the apple fritter and the Dutchie. And the shop was an enormous success. So do you know what an apple fritter is? Do you guys have them down there?
Yeah, apple fritters are a thing. So it's basically like a fried apple pie, basically.
Yeah. And then a Dutchie?
Not sure what a Dutchie is.
Okay. Now,
Like a Danish of some kind?
so the Dutchie it has raisins in it, and it's a throwback to it's a Dutch tradition here with my girls' grandparents is called oliebollen, which means like oil ball in Dutch, and it has raisins in it, so it's a throwback to that, like just dough and raisins, and it's pretty yummy.
Ugh, I don't do raisins.
The forbidden cookie when you think it's a chocolate chip.
Ugh. No, I can spot that a mile. Like I might see it across the way and get excited, and then when I get close to it, I go, "Ugh, no. I'm good." No, like why'd you bring this? And
you end up you have what's called donut holes, right?
Yes, and they have a different name at Tim Hortons. I know this.
In
I
Tim
know
Hortons,
this. They're Timbits.
They're Timbits. That's right. Which, I mean, they're just the holes from the donuts. But Timbits, they're special.
And I know what a double is.
What is it? I'm going to test you now.
It is when you order your coffee with 2 cream, 2 sugar.
That's right. Yep. Good job. Now I owe you another Toonie.
I know a little bit. It's a double, so you owe me 2 Toonies.
Man, now I'm up to like $6, which in Americans, like, not a lot.
Yeah, it just depends on the exchange rate.
Each day.
You're losing your butt on this one, Trish.
Oh. Well, following Tim Horton's death, the first franchisee, Ron Joyce, buys the family share in the company. And in 95, he actually sells it to Wendy's International and Corporate. It becomes a public company. And in 2014, it merges with Burger King in a $12 billion deal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That it went with Wendy's and then to Burger King like that.
Yeah.
Now, I have not had Tim Hortons. I have not been to Canada.
Mhm.
Although there
There
are
is.
some Tim Hortons in the States. I know, like, mostly probably like upstate New York and some places up there, but there's nothing here, at least in Central
Nothing down in Florida.
Not that, no. Mm-mm. But you have been to America a handful of times.
Mhm.
Have you had Dunkin' Donuts?
We actually had a Dunkin' Donuts in my hometown growing up.
Okay. So, well, I guess it's possible you have Dunkin' Donuts in Canada. I wasn't even thinking of it, but if
We had
I'm
3
assuming if
Tim
there's
Hortons. So I grew up in a town of 5,000 people. We had 3
Okay.
Tim Hortons and a Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay, so that was going to be my thing. If you've got a Tim Hortons across the street from the Dunkin' Donuts, you're probably going to the Tim Hortons. So my question is, are they better?
So, funny enough, I preferred Tim Hortons until they made the deal with Burger King. And then they changed where they sourced their bean. And McDonald's actually picked up where Tim Hortons originally sourced their bean. And now I like Tim Hortons coffee better. Yeah, I know, gasp. But Tim Hortons French vanilla cappuccino is where it's at.
That sounds really good.
It's real good.
That does sound
and the honey cruller donut. Oh God, it's like angel wings. That's if you could eat angel wings, that's what it would taste like.
Now, we have here in the Southeast United States, we have a place called Krispy Kreme.
Oh, I've had a Krispy Kreme donut. They are.
Oh, you have?
Good.
Okay. Yeah.
But there's not any in Canada, or that I know of.
I don't know if there are or not, but
not where I grew up anyway. Yeah, I had someone bring them home. They took them across the border, and they shared them with a bunch of us back home.
So they weren't hot when you had them.
No.
What you need to do, get one fresh off the line, because they will literally do that. They will,
because they come off a conveyor belt, don't they, or something, into a chute? Yeah.
So
I need to try this.
When you walk in, you can see them dropping the dough rings in the oil. You see them cooking. You follow it down the line. There's a little arm thingy that comes and flips the tray of donuts, so the other side cooks, and then they go under a waterfall of glaze. And then there's an employee there to literally pick them right off the line and put them in the box and hand them to you.
I need to do that. Yeah. So we actually there's 3,500 Tim Hortons in Canada. There's 1,000 in the United States and 38 in the Persian Gulf. Because my sister who lives in Dubai actually went to Tim Hortons.
You know who I think probably would have ate a lot of Tim Hortons donuts?
Who?
Robert Wadlow. And he was born February 22nd, 1918. Now, who is this individual, you may ask? Robert Pershing Wadlow holds the record as being the tallest person in recorded history. He grew to be 8 feet, 11.1 inches.
Oh my goodness. Can you even imagine being that tall? Like nothing is designed for someone of that size.
Everything has to be custom made, and there's no, like, you're not finding stuff to fit this guy at the store. So he reached 8 feet, 11.1 inches, and weighed 439 pounds before, unfortunately, he passes away at the age of 22 due to complications from an infection.
I was going to say, that's so young.
And what's even crazier is there's no indication that he had stopped growing.
So he could have continued to get taller.
Right. We have no idea how tall he potentially would have gotten. Because, I mean, he was 22. Most people are pretty much what they are by that age. So
Mhm.
it kind of stands to reason he probably wasn't going to grow at the same rate that he had his whole life. I mean, I'm not a scientist by any means, but I'm guessing he would probably have maxed out at like 9.9, like 9.5 feet or something, maybe.
Mhm.
I'm totally just pulling that number out of,
Now, was
the
it
sky.
hereditary or was it?
No, his growth was due to he had an issue with his pituitary gland, which resulted in abnormally high levels of human growth hormone, and that was what caused him to continue to grow throughout his life. His shoe size.
Mhm.
Now shoe sizes, I don't know in Canada if they're the same as Americans. So these
We
numbers, I think you guys use
Yeah,
different numbers than us.
we tend to use American sizes, but often our
Okay.
shoes will also list the European sizes.
Yeah, so like I know shoes here have usually like in the tongue it'll be like
Yeah,
US, European, and I think like Japanese or
yeah,
something in
we
them.
have
So
something
okay,
similar.
so
Yeah.
then you probably do use these same sizes. So he wore a size 37 shoe.
Holy moly. I can't even imagine. I only have like little size 8 compared to that.
Yeah, I wear like a size 10 and a half. So
Yeah.
this is
Which that's
that
like that's like a normal man size, like average, I would think.
yeah, it might be slightly a little bit out. I mean, yeah, I think my feet are a little bit bigger than average. I get big feet.
Oh.
So, I mean, I don't have like Shaquille O'Neal size feet or anything. I could I could tell you the tallest person I've ever seen in person was the Big Show. He's a wrestler. So
Mhm.
just Google the Big Show wrestler, and anybody that doesn't know who he is will see a picture of him. And he's 7'4", and I've met him, and like my head was at his shoulder. So
Yeah,
I can tell
that's
you that
tall.
this guy, he's tall. So he's 7'4". As you can imagine, he doesn't have to look up to too many people. He would be looking up at Robert Wadlow.
Yeah. That's crazy because
Hmm.
we Canada holds the record for the tallest non-pathological giant in recorded history, and that is Angus Mccaskill, and he's 7 feet 10 inches.
That's still pretty tall. That's almost
Yeah,
8 feet right there.
yeah, that's
And
in
to
the
think this guy was a foot taller than him.
yeah, that's insane. Like that's so tall. Like I said, nothing's designed to fit this poor person. Like I can't
Mm.
even imagine what as a child how tall they would have been growing. You just wouldn't be able to keep them in clothes.
No, there's absolutely no way. Trish, how tall are you roughly?
I am 5 foot 2 inches at my
5 foot
tallest.
2. Okay, so Robert was that height when he was 4 years old.
So I'd be looking eye level to a 4-year-old.
Yes.
Oh my, can you imagine like developmentally? It's a 4-year-old who looks like like an adult.
Yeah. I mean
Oh
that's
my
that's
goodness.
insane. I mean he was a 1 foot 8 inches when he was born. So that's fairly normal for a newborn. So that's 20 inches.
Oh yes,
Uh,
okay. I was trying to think like how big is
yeah.
that? I was like, that sounds
Hmm.
big. But my daughter was 21 inches when she was born,
Okay.
my
Yeah.
oldest.
So
So
he's
yeah,
at
normal
this
baby
point.
size.
You have no reason to suspect anything's up. Now, when he was 6 months old, he was 2 feet 10.5 inches. Now at this point, you're going,
That's fast
um,
growth.
yeah, like by the time he was 10 years old, he was 6.5 feet tall.
Oh my goodness. I can't even picture it.
What age can Canadians drive, like by themselves?
Um, by themselves,
Hmm.
in Alberta, 16 because you can get a learner's at 14.
Okay. So like
And
here in
then,
Florida, it's 16, and you get your learners at 15. So
oh,
that's
okay.
where I
So
was. I was
similar.
So I was going with the driving age.
Okay.
So and I don't know in Illinois where he grew up. I don't know what their age. I'm assuming it's 16. We'll just go with that.
Mhm.
He was already over 8 feet tall by then.
Like, what car is he going to drive?
Not a
Nothing's going
Volkswagen
to fit.
Beetle.
No, definitely not. Can you imagine a smart car? Like, it just wouldn't happen.
Put this guy in a Mini Cooper. He'd be like the
Oh,
clowns coming out of the car at the circus.
oh my goodness.
When he graduated high school in 1936, he was 8 feet 3 inches.
Now, what is sad, of course, is that we have modern medicine and techniques that would have recognized what was going on and would have treated the pituitary gland to ensure that he didn't grow beyond that height, I guess.
Right. And because when you get into giantism and
Hmm.
these sorts of things, we do have treatments. For example, Big Show, going back to him for a second, he had a surgery at some point in his life that stopped him from growing. So
Mm.
because otherwise, these giants, they live miserable lives because of
Well,
how difficult it is.
yeah, it's not easy on your body to like pump that much blood around, and yeah, and just all the
Yeah.
joint pain and muscle pain, I'm assuming.
It's like Andre the Giant from The
Hmm.
Princess Bride. He was 7'4" as well, and he same thing. He was just miserable. I mean, granted, he had a rough life because he was a wrestler. It's hard on your body, but same thing. It just wears you down.
Yeah, the strain and stress on your body has got to be pretty harsh.
I would dare even say that if I put you on my shoulders, like
Like combined, we're still shorter.
right now, like if you literally stood on my shoulders, then yeah, you would be
Then
taller
yes.
than him. But like just like how you would normally carry a person
Yeah,
on your shoulders, yeah, you'd still be probably looking up
I'd
at
still be
this
looking up
guy.
at him.
Yeah. And then I'd set
Oh,
you down and you'd really be looking up at him.
that's true.
Well, we've got another interesting genetic story because February 21st, 1964, astronauts Mark and Scott Kelly were born. They were astronauts and they flew in the space shuttle several times. And they did an interesting science experiment with them because they were twins. They were astronauts, so they had the same DNA. Back in 2015, Scott Kelly spent a year in space. So his brother Mark, obviously, he stayed down here on Earth, and they were able to compare the two after Scott got back, to see the differences between the bodies. Because that's been the thing, is as we get into space travel, and especially when you want to go to Mars and that sort of a situation, you want to know the long-term effects on being in space. And so this was a perfect opportunity to test that and to see the effects on a person.
Well, NASA was awfully lucky that identical twins wanted to both be astronauts.
Yeah. In fact, Mark Kelly, who is now currently a senator from the state of Arizona, he was the commander for the final mission of Space Shuttle Endeavour.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And one of Scott's trips on the space shuttle was actually to repair the Hubble telescope in 1999.
Now, I wonder, how did they decide which twin got to go into space for a year? Because that's pretty cool. Did they flip a Toonie?
They may have. That is entirely possible. Maybe that's what they did.
It's like polar bear or queen, who's going up?
I'm curious because I always kind of wonder these things with twins. If they ever thought of if they ever had some fun at NASA and they swapped one day, like they went into
Oh,
one of their training classes or something, and just to see if anybody would notice, because they had to have done something like that.
they've had to do that growing
to
up
somebody.
for sure.
Yeah.
That would be funny. Well, and another astronaut that ended up being a part of a scientific experiment on how space affects the human body was, of course, John Glenn, who is the first American to orbit the Earth on February 20th, 1962. He, of course, ends up going back into space at the age of 77 aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery in 1998, which made him the oldest person to fly in space. I remember that too. That was really cool to watch live. And yeah, it was they basically wanted to look at what space flight did on a senior body.
And I got to watch it actually live because
Yeah.
I'm in Florida. We went outside the classroom that day to go outside to watch it launch, the shuttle launch.
Not fair.
Yeah,
Stop being so
that was pretty
cruel.
cool. I mean, the launches do tend to look the same. I mean, every now and then you get one that may have a little extra wow factor to them, but it was still like the historical moment of it.
Yes, yeah.
Is what makes them special. I mean, because
Yeah.
once you've seen one rocket go up, they, for the most part, all look the same. But it's knowing that this is really happening.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember after, we started flying again after Columbia, we talked about a few weeks back. Just that cool factor of seeing that go. Well, it's even like last year when we launched the SpaceX.
Yeah.
And we had,
Oh, that was cool.
astronauts on board. It was right in the middle of the summer, and it had been a really challenging few months. COVID was setting in, and we had protests and everything in the summer, and it was just kind of cool for a few minutes to just have a really uniting moment like that.
Yeah, I agree. Because I had my girls, we watched it live on the NASA channel here, and just I was teaching them why that moment was so significant, and they thought it was really cool. And of course, getting kids excited about science and space is always a great thing.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
so how many times did John Glenn go around the Earth in his 62 flight? Do you know? It's like American pop history question.
9 times.
Ooh, no. You are a multiple of 9, but 3. 3 times in the space capsule Friendship 7. I didn't realize that the astronauts were actually the ones that were encouraged to give the space capsules a nickname. Like, I just assumed that NASA named it Friendship 7, but they didn't. John Glenn and his family actually decided on the word friendship and then added the number 7 to honor the Mercury 7 astronauts. His mission was officially named Mercury Atlas 6, Mercury for the Roman god of speed, Atlas 6 to indicate that this was the 6th mission to the newer, faster Atlas rocket. So I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I got something else you didn't know.
What?
Did you know about Elm Farm Ollie?
Elm Farm Ollie. No.
Well, you're
Is
about
that
to.
A farmer? Is it a creature?
It is a cow. Elm Farm Ollie, on February 18th, 1930, did something that no cow had ever done before.
1930, okay.
She flew. Forget pigs flying. We're talking about a cow flying.
Okay, she flew.
She flew.
On her own propellant?
Yes, she drank a Red Bull, and it gave her wings, and she flew. No, they loaded her on a plane and flew her from Bismarck, Missouri to St. Louis, which was about 72 miles. And she became the first cow to take flight and the first cow to be milked on a plane.
Why?
So it was being done partially as a publicity stunt, but it was also an opportunity for scientists to study the effect of high altitudes on a cow being milked. So she was chosen because she was capable of producing large quantities of milk. And so they said, hey, this is a good cow to test this on. And so she produced 24 quarts of milk on the flight, which was...
How many liters is that? I'm going to Google it. You keep talking. So 24 quarts is almost 23 liters. And I usually buy a 2-liter carton of milk a week. That's a lot of milk.
Yeah, so that's a lot of milk. So what did they do with this milk, you may ask?
Please tell me they didn't waste the milk.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No, they put it in cartons. They put it in cartons, and they parachuted it down to the people watching.
No. That's some fresh milk.
And supposedly, I wasn't there. I can't confirm this. Supposedly, Charles Lindbergh was one of the people who drank the milk.
Oh, my goodness. I thought you were going to say he was one of the ones, because he was a pilot, right?
He was a pilot, yeah.
Yeah, the Lindbergh baby mystery, too. So he was one of the ones that had some of the milk.
Yeah.
Oh, my. I did not know that. That's a great trivia point. Oh, well, I'm glad they didn't waste it. But, man, okay, so it's 74 miles flight. How long of a flight? Like, they milked a cow, put it in cartons, and put little parachutes on them, and parachuted them out of the plane all in that amount of time?
Yeah.
Speaking of animals, that leads us to our last segment for this week's show, which is all about Steve Irwin. So we're going to end on a happy note with the birth of Steve Irwin on February 22nd, 1962. He's born
Crikey,
in Upper...
We got a newborn over here. I don't know why he turned into Brooklyn, but hey,
That went very our poor Australian friends. It's like, don't get Tori listening to the podcast, but he's born in Upper Fern Tree Gully. How cool is that? Like
That
Fern
is
Gully, Upper Fern Tree Gully, Victoria, Australia.
better than Lower Fern Tree Gully.
I know. We don't
Don't
speak of Lower Fern Tree Gully.
no. Mm.
Oh goodness. Did you know that Steve Irwin actually grew up at a zoo?
Well, that I could see where that would have influenced him, but no, I did not.
Definitely. Yeah. When he was very little, he and his family moved in 1970 to Queensland, Australia, or well, Beerwah. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Near Queensland, Australia, and they opened Beerwah Reptile Park, which actually turns into the Australia Zoo. So that's where he grew up and spent most of his formative years.
Tori, please tell us if we're saying these cities wrong.
I'm looking at it phonetically. He actually met his wife Terry at the Australia Zoo, and the first episode of The Crocodile Hunter was filmed during their honeymoon.
Really?
Yep.
It's like, hey, honey, I got a great idea. My
Super
Australian
romantic.
accent is not that good.
Notice how I'm not even attempting it.
Fair enough.
I'm like, for the Commonwealth, but I'm not gonna try.
See, I'm just the obnoxious American that will try it. And this is why people hate us.
Don't give in to the stereotype. Come on now, Mike. What animal? There's one animal that Steve Irwin was actually terrified of.
Kangaroos.
That was your only answer? I'll give you a second guess.
Because kangaroos, they can be unhappy.
Kangaroos are not nice.
They will mess you up. Is it a common animal? I'm guessing it's a common animal because it's not gonna be like the Swahilian dingleberry beetle or anything odd. Like it's gonna be an actual animal. Dogs?
It was actually parrots.
I could see that.
Yeah, I have a friend who's really scared of birds, but he said he is quoted as saying, "The only animal I'm not comfortable with are parrots, but I'm learning as I go. I'm getting better and better. I really am. For some reason, parrots have to bite me. That's their job. I don't know why it is. They've nearly torn my nose off. I've had some really bad parrot bites."
Have you ever been pooped on by a bird?
Yes, it's not
Okay.
pleasant.
Yeah, I've had that.
Not like a
once.
big bird. No.
Not like a giant, pterodactyls took a dump on me, but no, I was at Legoland with a friend and his family, and we were looking at a map and we were under a tree, and the next thing I know, I just hear this on the top of my hat, and I'm like,
oh no.
Yeah.
That is unpleasant.
Yeah, not good.
No. There is actually a snail named after him and his famous catchphrase that you stated at the beginning of this episode or this segment.
Crikey. It's the only word I can get properly pronounced.
A scientist in Queensland discovered a new type of tree snail and named it the Crikey Steve Irwin. It's a colorful snail with swirling bands of creamy yellow, orange, brown, and chocolate, giving the shell an overall khaki appearance. And it was the khaki that immediately made the connection to the crocodile hunter.
Interesting. That's pretty cool.
And one other animal story that's related to Steve Irwin is that he himself actually discovered a new species of turtle. While on a fishing trip with his dad, he caught a turtle on his line that didn't look like any other creature that he or his dad had seen before, which would have been quite something considering his dad was very much a zoologist. So they took some pictures and sent them off to a specialist who confirmed that it was a never before discovered species. In honor of its discoverers, he named the species Elysia irwinian, or Irwin's snapping turtle. And the only place where you can see it outside of Australia, do you want to know where that is?
New Zealand? Mm-mm. Come on, that's a good guess.
That was a good guess.
America? Somewhere in America?
It is in America. It's in the Baltimore National Aquarium.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah.
Very cool.
Isn't that, what's the song, Welcome to Baltimore? We have to go there now.
You Good Morning Baltimore?
Or Good Morning Baltimore. Yes, that's what it is.
Good Morning Baltimore.
I love Hairspray. It's a good movie.
I won't sing anymore because I don't want to pay the royalties to it.
Right. You have to go back to last week's episode to find out about that.
Yeah. I don't want ASCAP coming after my ASCAP.
Very
Ding,
true.
ding. Ding, 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 ding. Time is running out. I'm going to give the wheel a final spin because we have one more story today. Because happy birthday today, February 18th, 1957, in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, one Miss Vanna White was born.
And made spinning letters popular for the ages.
Yes, she did. But Wheel of Fortune was not the first game show she was on.
Oh, really?
2 years before she started on Wheel of Fortune, not long after she had moved to Los Angeles to make it as an actress, she was actually a contestant on The Price is Right.
So she was a contestant, and is that where she was discovered?
That wasn't where she was discovered. That was just, so that was technically her first appearance on a game show.
Appearance.
She actually made it to Contestants Row. She was called up at the beginning of the show, but she never made it on stage to play any of the games, unfortunately.
Oh.
But a couple years later, she got chosen to try out to operate the board on Wheel of Fortune, which, of course, at the time, you literally physically flip the letters.
Yeah.
Now it's just a touchscreen monitor. She just walks by, touches it, and it changes. Yeah.
Man, playing Price is Right as a Canadian was always such a bummer because I could not for the life of me until I was a teenager figure out how they got these prices because I wasn't doing the conversion for the currency.
That's right, because I'm assuming you would have had the American version with Bob Barker.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, like, every day, like, when you had a snow day or you were homesick, you were watching The Price is Right.
Or during the summer, yeah.
Or in the summer. Well, I was outside a lot in the summer. We weren't allowed TV.
Well, it was hot here, so, like, we're staying inside, so.
We're Canadians. It's like, get that vitamin D and get outside.
Get it while you can, because when October hits, you're not going outside.
No. But nope, couldn't figure out how to play that game. But
it's interesting because we unfortunately recently, a few months back, lost
Alex Trebek.
Alex Trebek. Thank you.
Such a blow to Canada.
He'll eventually be replaced on Jeopardy, and Bob Barker was replaced on Price is Right with Drew Carey, and I'll leave my thoughts on that alone because we are desperately out of time. But you got to figure that Pat and Vanna are really the next, and I don't mean this in an ill will way. I'm just, facts are facts. She's celebrating her 64th birthday today, and Pat Sajak's 74. So,
yeah, they're going to want to retire and have free time.
They have hosted more shows in their past than they have left in front of them, and so they're going to be the next. I'm curious if they're going to retire together, or is one going to stay on for a few years to kind of transition?
Think how epic that would be, though. Like they both retire.
Yeah, but then you've got to
get
the right two people to have the right chemistry to replace them. Yeah, and that's a hard thing to get. So it's like when, Regis Philbin had the Regis and Kathy Lee show, and then when Kathy Lee retired, they went through people till they found Kelly Ripa. And so it was Regis and Kelly, and then eventually Regis retired, and then, Kelly's gone through, she had Michael Strahan as a co-host for a while, now it's Kelly and Ryan Seacrest. So it's like, when you have the two-person dynamic, you kind of rotate too, so that would be interesting to see what they wind up. Vanna hosted a few episodes a couple of years back when Pat had emergency surgery to clear a blocked intestine. So she actually,
I remember that when she took over hosting duties.
And they had like Mickey Mouse and Minnie like turning the letters and stuff. That was kind of fun. In fact, that started it all. That like opened the parallel universe portal for this whole COVID thing to happen, because it was like 2019.
Oh, so just before.
Yeah. So maybe if we have Vanna host again,
it will set it back.
Like reverses the portal. Yeah. We figured it out, Trish.
Okay, that's it. Get the FBI, CIA, I don't know, Area 51 guys. Get them on the line.
Yep, that's it. That's what we got to do. We need Vanna to host again, and all our problems will be solved.
Oh, I wish it was that easy.
Tell me about it. And on that note, we are almost out of time. We thank you for listening. And if you didn't make it to the end of this episode, then I hope if you are ever on Wheel of Fortune, you go to buy a vowel with no money and lose your turn, because that's what you get.
It's kind of true. It is what you deserve if you didn't make it to the end.
Yeah. But you made it to the end, so we hope you make the bonus round and win. a trip somewhere, because you'll eventually get to go on that trip.
Yeah. Somewhere warm,
Yeah.
but not too warm.
Right.
Yeah.
Not Florida in August. Don't do it.
No.
Come here in like January. It's beautiful.
Not Alberta in February.
Not Alberta, period.
Not Alberta in period. Oh. But Nova Scotia in October, beautiful.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that it is. I can see our ratings in Alberta going down by the week.
Oh, no. I love you, Alberta.
Thank you for joining us. Trish, do your thing.
As always, guys, if there's any questions, concerns, queries, or freakouts, let us know either on our Instagram page, or you can actually leave us a voice message on our Anchor app.
Yes,
let us know how we're doing.
And
yes,
big announcement: we are now on YouTube.
Dun, 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 dun.
Just look up The Time Machine, subscribe, like, comment, all that fun stuff. All our past episodes are up there, and this one is as well, and they will be there going forward. So if you're more of a YouTube person, you can hit subscribe. We don't have video on it yet. We're working on that. Sometime later this year, we'll hopefully have that up and running. But if you just like to click open tab on your browser and listen to stuff while you're doing whatever you're doing, listen to us, because we're there. You can find us. Now, on that note, have a good week, and thanks for joining us on this week's episode of The Time Machine.